Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with being first installment of a new segment for the channel, Deck Overviews. Started as a snappy name. Everything I workshopped just, didn't really click too well. So basically, this is kind of to a degree. This will be similar to building the team for my building the team videos for HeroClix, but for Magic the Gathering. Furthermore, as I don't play Magic as often as I would like, or let alone as often as I play HeroClix, this will largely just be, this won't be popping up as often. Anyway, so for our first deck overview we'll be doing is a commander deck that I built about a month or so ago. Maybe 2 months ago. Well, 2 months ago when I finished it. Started on it about shortly after I did my unboxing of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. It's a commander deck focusing on Isshin, 2 heavens as 1. Now, one of the major differences that this segment will have from building a team, I'm not going over the entire deck. That would take a while. As I learned during my Neon Dynasty unboxings, so we'll be looking at the commander, some of the neat cards with inside. If it's an intended upgrade, I'll also be going over the cards I took out, and generally speaking, what I put in their place. So yeah. Anyway, and there'll also be a degree of strategy. Isshin, 2 heavens as 1, is our next commander. He is a 3/4 legendary human samurai for 1 red, 1 white, and 1 black, or as referred to in the community, Mardu. What does Isshin do? If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Okay? There's quite a few things that say, there are quite a few cards that when this creature attacks, or when a creature you control attacks, or when an opposing creature attacks, do this. So Isshin doubles what you do, what those various effects do. So, like I said, it's largely a samurai tribal deck. The name that I've coined for it is, in fact, Isshin's Exalted Samurai Conspiracy. And there's some very good reasons for that. It is basically a samurai tribal deck. Now, technically, not every creature here has the samurai creature type, but there's a card here that fixes that. That card being Conspiracy, from way back in Mercadian Masks. This is a black enchantment for 3 colorless and 2 black. When it comes into play, choose a creature type. Creatures you control and creatures in your graveyard, hand, and library are all the chosen type. So, the basic idea is you get Conspiracy out and declare and state, choose Samurai. Hey, all your creatures are now Samurai. So, turning it into a tribal samurai deck, or samurai tribal deck. Now, for our mana, now with this being a multicolored deck, I'm not just running 11 copies, 11 swamps, 11 mountains, and 11 plains. And we've got a fair number of all 3. I think I'm running 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay. So that means we've got, right? Yep. 5 plains, 5 mountains, 5 swamps, and 5 mountains. So when it comes to non-basic lands, we've got a fair number. There are, after all, 99 cards in the deck, and 33 of those cards are lands. 15 of those 33 are basic lands. So we've also got Command Tower, always a good thing to have handy. Be tapped to add 1 mana of any color in my in mana's color identity, so red, white, or black. We've got a few cards that are a few lands that are simply here just to grab basic lands. We've got Evolving Wilds, Paramorphic Expanse. These two, you play them, at some point tap and sacrifice, search your library for a basic land, and put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle library. The next three are from Streets of New Capenna. We got Cabaret Courtyard. These next three are a little bit more focused in what lands you can grab. It's still basic lands, but well, actually, it's not basic lands. It's just this is the land types. But for Cabaret Courtyard, it's oh no, it is basic. Okay, so basic mountain, forest, or plains. Okay, Maestro's Theater, which Island, Swamp, or Mountain, and Obscure Storefront. Island, Plains, or Swamp. Now, the thing with these last three is that as soon as they come to play, they're sacrificed, and then you go and grab a basic land of the chosen type and put it into play tapped. Then we've got Cathedral of War, which can be tapped, comes into play tapped, and can be tapped for colorless mana. It also has Exalted, which is a major factor in a major point of the deck. So Exalted is an ability. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 at the end of turn. Now, if Isshin's on the battlefield, when anything with Exalted is with it, anything, as long as if you control anything with Exalted, it triggers twice. So instead, that the attacking creature gets +2/+2, basically. We got Unclaimed Territory. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. You can be tapped for one colorless, or you can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. That mana can only be spent to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. So obviously, you go Samurai. We got Path of Ancestry. Always good for tribal decks. It comes into enters the battlefield tapped. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. So you would then look at the top card of your library, and then afterwards you may either put that card on the. You can either put it back or just put it on the bottom of your library. That can be useful. Now we've got some more simplistic non-basic lands. Nomad Outpost, which also enters the battlefield tapped, and it generates the Mardu colors, but only 1 mana of each. 1 mana, and you get to pick which color. So, red, white, or black. Then we've got when it comes to red-black lands, we're sporting 4. We got Bloodfell Caves. Enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, gain 1 life. And you tap to generate 1 black or 1 red. Akum Refuge actually does the same thing. Dragon Skull Summit enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp or a mountain, but taps for either 1 red or 1 black. And finally, we have the Rakdos Carnarium, which also enters the battlefield tapped, and when it does so, return a land you control to its owner's hand, but it can be tapped for 1 black and 1 red. Now, a part of me sees the whole thing of returning a land you control your hand as a drawback, and to a degree, it is. It is. On the flip side of that, though, that means that you've got a land for your next turn. Now, when it comes to red, white, for red, white, and black, white, I don't think we actually have that many non-basics. I think we're just running 2 each in red, white, and black, white. So we got Boros Garrison. It's the red-white version of Rakdos Carnarium. The text is exactly the same except for what color mana it produces. And then we've got a Windscarred Crag, which is the black-white version of Bloodfell Caves. Largely, those two, as well as Scoured Barrens, are in the deck just because, hey, they generate mana and you gain life. We got Orzhov Basilica. Again, it's the Rakdos Carnarium Boros Garrison, but for Orzhov. And the aforementioned Scoured Barrens. So with the fact that Exalted is a large part of this deck, in my opinion, I would not say this is a definitive fact, but in my opinion, when building a deck that utilizes Exalted, one should, potentially speaking, have a creature that is basically designated to be your primary attacker, and of course have backups for that creature in case of them being removed from the game for exiled, or simply removed from the battlefield through various means. And of course ways to protect them to avoid that happening. In this deck, our primary attacker is Nephrox, Overlord of Grixis. A 5/5 legendary demon for 4 colorless and 2 black. He has flying and exalted. When he attacks alone, defending player sacrifices a creature. Okay, all right. So that's actually that'll be 2 triggers that get doubled through Isshin, with Isshin and him. Now, why did I go with Exalted for this deck? Or why did I want to utilize Exalted? Well, a fair number of the samurai in Neon Dynasty have abilities that trigger off of a samurai or warrior attacking alone, which makes it for a much more narrow version of Exalted. And in fact, a development video with the developers, one of the developers stated that yes, that was the idea, was something similar to Exalted, but not quite Exalted. So we've got a few creatures that are warriors. Most of the creatures of the deck are samurai, and yes, of course, as mentioned previously, Conspiracy turns all of them into samurai. So yeah, but a lot of these creatures, a lot of those samurai and warriors in the deck are in the deck basically to enhance the others. Like example would be Argentum Exemplar. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Basically, it has Exalted baked into it. Then we've got Selfless Samurai, gains lifelink. Norika Yamazaki, the poet. Cast an enchantment card from your graveyard whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone. Okay. Seven-tailed Mentor. Does not have one. And yeah, that's for the white ones, the white samurai that have exalted-ish effects. And then we've got the Sublime Archangel, which is another crucial element of the deck. Sublime Archangel is a 4/3 flyer for 2 colorless and 2 white. Creature has Exalted, and other creatures you control have Exalted. If a creature has multiple instances of Exalted, each triggers separately. Okay, all right. Black creature, we've got Cut Through Contender for a decent 1-drop. Pay 1 life to give it +1/+1 until end of turn, but that can only be done once. Hannah Slimgar, Dutiful Attendant, Zubi Blade Blesser. and Bleak Covenant Vampires. Which have a Metalcraft ability, seeing as they're from one of the Mirrodin sets, Scars of Mirrodin to be exact. If you control 3 or more when Bleak Covenant Vampires enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more artifacts, target player loses 4 life and you gain 4 life. Always, life gain's always a good thing. When it comes to red creatures, we got a couple 1-drops, Somber Wall Vigilante and Zergo Bellstriker. We got Goro Goro, Disciple of Ryusei, who can give creatures haste, and can generate a 5/5 red Dragon Spirit creature token. But that can only be done if you're attacking it, or if you control an attacking modified creature. Equipment auras you control, and counters are modifications. We got Peerless Samurai, which makes the next spell you cast this turn cost 1 colorless less to cast. I'm not sure if that would translate to, with Isshin, that would translate to having 2, or to being 2 less, but yeah. Heiko Yamazaki, the General, cast our artifact card in the graveyard this turn. Zealous Conscripts, which have haste, and when they enter the battlefield, you gain control of target creature target permanent until end of turn, untaps and gains haste until end of turn. The basic idea being you gain control of a target creature. Now, next up we've got the Aki Battle Squad. This is actually kind of an important element for the deck. Extra attack phases are always important in Magic, especially Commander. With Aki Battle Squad, which is a 6/6 Goblin Samurai for 5 colorless and 1 red. Whenever 1 or more modified creatures you control attack, untap all modified creatures you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay. We've also got an Ash Zealot, which has First Strike and Haste, and it's a 2/2 for 2 red. Whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, Ash Zealot deals 3 damage to that player. So you kind of have to be careful with some of these with Ash Zealot. Then we got a few multicolor cards, creatures I should say. We have Risona, Asari Commander. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, if Risona does not have an indestructible counter, put an indestructible counter on her. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you, remove an indestructible counter from Risona. We've got Ryu, Storm's Edge, who is also fairly important to the deck. A legendary 3/3 human samurai for 2 colorless, 1 red and 1 white with First Strike. And whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, untap it. If it's the first combat phase of this turn, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. Okay, alright. We also have Asari Captain. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each samurai or warrior you control. Okay. Like I said, a lot of this is about buffing up creatures. Then finally we've got Zergo Helm Smasher, 7/2. A legendary 7/2 Orc Warrior with haste for 2 colorless, and then 1 red, 1 white, and 1 black. Zergo, in the initial in the Khan's Timur time or Tarkir timeline, is the Khan of the Mardu clan. He attacks each combat if able. He is indestructible as long as your turn. Whenever a creature deals damage or dealt damage by Zergo Helm Smasher this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on. Okay, alright. So yeah. We have a decent enough amount of triggers, attack triggers for Isshin to play off. When it comes to mana, we don't just have non-basic lands. We've also got a few mana rocks. Got Boros, Orzhov, and Rakdos Signets, Gold Mirror, Iron Mirror, and Leaden Mirror, and a Mardu Banner. Each one generates colored mana of a specific type. I opted not to include Soul Ring, just for there to be enough room in the deck, you know. Not much of a card draw. We do have some, like Tawashi Guidebot. It can be for 4. You can tap it to draw for 4 mana. You can tap to draw a card. It costs one mana less to activate for each modified creature you control. So if I control 4 modified creatures, I can just tap it. And as is the tribal deck, it wouldn't be complete without Coat of Arms. That way, they all my samurai get +1/+1 for each other samurai in play. We also got some equipment to make it to so we're not relying on getting +1/+1 counters onto our creatures to modify them. We have the Trusty Machete. Adds equipped creature gets +2/+1. It has an equip cost of 2 and a casting cost of 1. Nodachi, which has a casting cost of 2 and an equip cost of 3. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and for strike. Always, in my opinion, useful. We got the Black Blade Reforged. A legendary equipment, which has a casting cost of 2. The equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and it has 2 separate equip costs. For a legendary creature, it costs 3. Regular, it costs 7. Swiftfoot Boots, which have a casting cost and equip cost each of 2. Equipped creature gains haste and hexproof. Hexproof is especially important for the long run, as if your opponent can't target a creature, well, they can't remove it from the game. They can't remove it. At least just it, So, yeah. Then we got a Loxodon Warhammer. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample and lifelink. It costs 3 to cast and 3 to equip. And yes, this is the original version of the card, not more recent versions. Either way, either one's fine. It actually does not say that it has lifelink. It says that when it deals damage, you gain that much life. So yeah, this is before they decided lifelink was going to be an ability. Whisper Silk Cloak. Equipped creature is unblockable and has Shroud. Casting cost 3, equip cost 2. Personally, as much as I love this artwork, the artwork from the card's original appearance, I believe in Darksteel, is also, it's just interesting if nothing else. Argentum Armor, which has a cast and equip cost each of 6. Equipped creature gets +6/+6, and whenever a equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. That's right. It has another when attack. It has another trigger from attacking with a creature. So you put that on Nephrox, have him attack alone, sacrifice 2 creatures, then you get to destroy 2 more permanents of your opponent. We got some enchantments. The two probably, well, at least when it comes to white, the most important enchantment of the deck is Conspiracy. But we've also got a few others like Rabble Rousing from Streets of New Capenna, which costs 4 colorless and 1 white. It has Hideaway of 5. When this enchantment enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, another attack trigger, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then, if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Okay, that now if you got this plus Isshin, then you're making 2 of those tokens, 2 of those citizen tokens on an attack with a single creature. Our next important enchantment is Cathar's Crusade, which costs 3 colorless and 2 white. This is actually on a lot of decks, for good reason. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, play a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay. I'll always, as much as I like buffs that are, you know, creature gets +1/+1 or +X/+X, whatever. +1/+1 counters are so much better because if the source of that +1/+1 buff goes away, that buff is gone. But if the source of the +1/+1 counter goes away, that counter is still there. It's still a +1/+1 counter. Then we've got Curse of Oblivion Conspiracy. Nothing too earth shaking in our for the back end of the deck. Some spot removal, a board wipe, some tutoring, you know, usual stuff. But a little bit of card draw. Got Doom Blade, Murder for spot removal, D-Spark for some hardcore spot, and Terminate for spot removal as well. Did I sworn? No. Oh no. Okay, all right. So yeah, the basic idea is simply put, cast creatures, get build your forces. As soon as you can get Isshin into play, do so. I would go as far as to recommend getting him, not just having him in play, but also protected. Waiting until you can protect him as well. Perhaps with, say, those Swiftfoot boots or that Whispersilk cloak, but probably the Swiftfoot boots. At the very least, the Swiftfoot boots. You know, the hexproof would be nice. Yeah. If you want to see the full deck list, link to the full deck list on Moxfield will be in the description below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me or the deck in the comments. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.